So, for my presentation, the policy I have is inclusion for children with disabilities in early childhood programs. So, for my introduction, the policy that I'm introducing is inclusion for children with disabilities in early childhood programs. Unfortunately, issues such as the lack of training in educators and childcare workers jeopardizes these requirements. This means children may not get the full support and assistance that they need. So, the policy. So I've stated that the policy is inclusion for children with disabilities in early childhood, and this policy states that children with disabilities should be able to be in high quality and inclusive learning programs. They should have the opportunities to be able to participate alongside their peers, and then this public education must be in the least restrictive environment. And this means that these children have to be able to learn with the rest of their peers regardless of ability, so be in the same classroom. Now, as for the federal policy, the Individuals with Disabilities Act requires that children with disabilities must have access to free public education as well. Why did I choose this policy? I chose this policy because special education is a field that I would possibly like to pursue a future in. Throughout my time working at an early learning center, I have noticed that children with disabilities are not getting the support that is expected. As a future educator, I would like to create a space where all children are accepted regardless of their ability. So it's important to learn about the policies supporting these children, but also the barriers that are affecting these policies from reaching their full potential. So for the history, to start with, in 1975, the Education for All Handicapped Children Act was created, and this guaranteed free and public education for children with disabilities. Then this act turned into the Individuals with Disabilities Act. They are very similar, but the Individual with Disabilities Act added children should be able to be in the same class as their able peers to the maximum extent. So this goes back to the least restrictive environment. So some more history. In 2015, the policy statement, which is the one that I'm focusing on, is the inclusion of children with disabilities in early childhood programs, was created. So after many sessions were held, people discovered that there were not a lot of regulations for inclusion in early childhood programs. So this policy helped establish more support for creating inclusive classrooms for children with disabilities. This policy states all children with disabilities should have access to high-quality, inclusive early childhood programs, regardless of their type of disability, level of services and supports needed, race and ethnicity, language, and geographic and economic circumstances. So unfortunately, COVID-19 did make a setback on the progress, so program and classroom closure made it harder for children to access this high-quality, inclusive program. With time, the policy has been able to recover, and now they continue to help educate programs about the importance of these environments. How has it changed? Before there were any policies for children with disabilities, they were excluded from accessing the same education as typically developing children. So throughout time, there have been changes such as IEPs and UDLs. So IEPs are individualized education programs, and UDLs are a universal design for learning. And these have helped make spaces more inclusive by providing children with learning options that are specifically tailored for them. So progress has been made over time to ensure that children are getting the support and assistance they need, but there are still changes that could be made. So some fun facts. Classrooms with well-trained educators have better behavior management, increased engagement, and higher developmental outcomes for all children, not just those with disabilities. And studies show that inclusive programs with trained staff lead to a 40% decrease in expulsion rates among young children. And then children with disabilities who attend inclusive early learning settings show significant gains in language, social emotional skills, and cognition. My proposal, so to create a real inclusive environment for children in these programs, I'm proposing that ongoing training programs are implemented for early childhood educators, with the main focus being supporting children with disability. So these programs will allow educators the opportunity to have the proper tools and knowledge to address these children and be able to help them in the classroom. So using applications like universal design and collaborating with the families, this will create a goal to reduce the barriers in education for these children and hopefully improve the educational outcomes. So my advocacy plan consists of creating awareness about the policy, but also to push for improved training for educators. So I will start out by reaching to communities, families, future educators about the importance of these practices in the classroom. Many people don't know what inclusion looks like because it is a broad term, so I do believe that people need some guidance to figure this out and be able to include these children. So I do think the most beneficial way was to create a pamphlet highlighting the importance of it, describing the goals, having information on IEPs and UDL programs, and lastly, providing examples on strategies that can be done to create a more inclusive environment. So my audience are parents, early childhood educators and teachers, and then the program administrators. Parents are very strong advocates for their children, so they can actually help, push for changes in the program and ask for these training programs. Early childhood educators should be proposing that they want this training. They should be asking for more to be able to learn more about how to work with these children, and then the program administrators are the people that are going to make this possible. So these are all the people that we really need to be in touch with. So now I have my my call to action. So this was my product. I have why are improved training programs in early childhood centers necessary, and then inclusion for children with disability in early childhood programs. So improved training programs are essential to create an inclusive environment. Training allows educators to understand the diverse needs of each individual child. Training builds confidence in educators. Why is it important? And then I have the strategies for creating an inclusive environment, which does have the UDLs and then creating lessons. So I also did put in statistics that would, for parents or teachers or administrators that are a part of this and receiving the pamphlet, they would be able to see kind of how children can be affected. So only about 15% of children under the age of 3 who qualify for early intervention services actually end up getting them. And with 1 in 6 children in the U.S. having a developmental delay or disability, this is a problem. It also says in a national survey that nearly 60% of early childhood teachers said they felt unprepared to work with children. So that's why training really comes in handy. So I have what we can do. So the directors and administrators, the educators and the parents and families and policymakers, what they can do to make sure that teachers are getting improved training programs, and then why you should join us. And then at the end, I just have my works cited. Thank you.